What a week it has been. Not only were we featured in a BBC article, I had to deny interviews from the Washington Post, and nearly 7,000 of you have joined the PG community. So, with World of Warcraft kind of diving off a cliff right now, it's time we went on a side quest. And what better way to go on a side quest than into New World? Let's take a look. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to New World. I'm sure you've heard a lot about this. In fact, months before it even went into closed beta, it was the game that was lambasted as its cash shop leaked, and people were very afraid it was going to be pay to win. What I can tell you is Amazon is still figuring it out. It is by Amazon Studios. And to how they're going to monetize this game, as it is not a subscription-based MMO like you're used to, certainly if you're coming from World of Warcraft. It is a buy the game, and then there's an in-game cash shop for cosmetics and things like that. We're going to take a look at that in a moment, but that is the situation with this. Now, the lens you look at this through is really going to dictate whether or not you like this game, because MMO is a very nebulous term, and MMOs are extremely broad in the people they appeal to. Now, New World is originally designed as a full-on PvP territorial MMO, very similar to what you would have seen in Neocron, very similar to what you would have seen in Dark Age of Camelot, for anybody who remembers those games, where you will, in fact, as a team, as a unit, as a guild, as a house, you will be able to take over territory. Now, as you can see, here's our world map, and you can see it is dominated by, currently, the Purple Guild, the Syndicate, and different houses of them. So you can see this area here over in Brightwood is actually governed by the Empire of Decay. Over here, the Ibn Scale Reach is governed by the Hard Rabbits on the server we're playing. Over here it is green. The Powerful Worms, who are the Marauders faction, they are in charge here. Now, choosing your faction is something that happens around level 10, 12-ish. There are 3 factions in the game. The Covenants, which I'm a part of, which are more of a religious sect. We have the Marauders, which are much more like get involved and kill things. And we have the Syndicate as well. And as you can see, this town we're in right here is actually governed by the Syndicate. Now, the whole point of the game, like its end game, is to control various territory, which will provide a series of bonuses to players of that faction in that area. So, I am not a part of this faction, but that doesn't mean I don't get any bonuses here. I don't get the extra bonuses, but what I do is have some territory standing, as we can see over here. So you can see in Everfall, I am known there. I have done tasks here, I've done missions here, and this has unlocked a variety of bonuses for me, such as crafting, crafting cost reduction, extra experience while leveling in that zone, speeding up things like gaining reputation in that zone, so you can actually cap it up much quicker, and moving over to different areas will in fact unlock the same sort of things. Now, once the town is governed by somebody, they actually get to set a bunch of rules, which may or may not work in your favor, at least in the beta, because player housing is very much a thing. In New World, you can in fact get some player housing. Plenty of the houses that you'll see around are in fact available for purchase, such as this house here. So you can see I can enter the house menu, I can purchase that house for 5,000 gold, which isn't a tremendous amount of money, and I need some certain reputation with 15 Everfall standing in order to get into there. So you can see there are lots of houses here, and in fact, if you really go ham on your house and do a lot of decoration, your house will be listed in the top 20. So then you can go and have a look around in their house. So you can see all the decoration. This wouldn't ordinarily be here. That has been done by this person inside their house in order to create storage and be able to fast travel back to here. Things like that. Now, town housing is a great thing, and each area has its own town housing. However, the governing body can put down taxes. And if you have a house in an area that is not controlled by your governing, you're not part of, say, the Syndicate, as this area is controlled by the Syndicate, they can put your tax up extraordinarily. So it kind of creates this want and desire to secure your territory. We've had, luckily, I'm only level 13 here. I've put about 12 to 14 hours into the game. But luckily, our community and my team behind the scenes have all been playing the game and putting information in. So Bex on the team has about 50 hours in the game, as well as a variety of other community members who've all submitted their notes and information on this. And I've played enough now to feel confident to give you a first impressions. But bear in mind, reviewing an MMO is an extraordinarily hard thing, because the end game never ends. So when do you call the review complete, so to speak? So take this as a first impressions of the game, so take it as such. And you can draw any information. If you want further details, obviously, go to the Reddits if you really want the nitty-gritty of stuff. So, let's talk about the classes and things like that, because that's a big question that a lot of people have about these. So the classes, very similar to Guild Wars 2, are dictated by your weapons. So we have the basic stuff here that you'll get by leveling up, where you can go into Strength, Dexterity, Int, Focus, and Constitution. And as you can see, it tells you which weapons scale best with those. So you can see here for Dexterity, that works with spears and muskets and rapiers and bows and hatchets and swords and shields. Strength is going to involve things like great axes. Currently, there are no daggers or two-handed swords in the game, although they are supposed to be coming. Focus, of course, for casters and things like that. So the way you design your character is there's only one race, it's humans. Is through here. Now you can see there's a variety of weapons, and I've tried them all. I have tried the life staff, but I didn't fancy healing. But equipping these weapons on your character changes your skill set. And the idea is that you can have 2 equipped at a time, and that will give you a variety of classes via that system. So let's have a look at something like the spear. So each weapon has 2 talent trees associated with it with a number of abilities. And you're able to equip 3 of the abilities per weapon. So over here with the Impaler, I have things like Skewer, where I can rush and charge and apply a bleed to the target. I have Perforate, which is a flurry of attacks. And I also have Vault Kick, so I can stun them. And then they have a variety of modifiers and passives that go along with it. Now remember this, it's going to come up later on with how the gameplay actually works. So you can see here the last hit of a light attack chain applies 30% slow. And you'll get all these modifiers with an ultimate exploit weakness at the end to signify your ability. But you can level into both of these if you want to. You can see you can respec, it's for free. So I can respec here. So let's say I did want Impaler, but I also wanted Javelin, the ability to throw my spear. I could do that. And I could also pick up, say, Sweep, so I could do an AoE stun, or perhaps I want Perforate. I have another point available, so I can now pick Sweep. If I commit those points, what you can then do is reassign them for ones that are missing, right? So you can see, like, this one's not applied. So I could swap it out. Let's say I don't want Perforate, or I don't want the Impaler ability. So I can put it over Q instead. And I'll have those 3 abilities that go along with that, meaning you can swap around and mess around with your characters at free will. Pretty nice, pretty nice. So ultimately, let's go to our character screen here. You can see I have 2 weapons equipped. So right now I have a Great Axe and I have an Ice Gauntlet, which basically makes me a Frost Caster type. So if I wanted to change this, you can see I've been testing around with all the weapons. If I look at my actual abilities, if we go outside here, what you'll see is with my Great Axe equipped, I have 3 abilities with that, which are like Execute and Charge, things like that. If I want to, though, and you can do this in combat, and it's really the crux of the gameplay. Some people like the gameplay, some people do not. I would say it's okay. The gameplay is okay. It's a little clunky at times, and it really depends on pairing up the weapons in a good way. There are some issues as it's an online game where you feel like you hit, but you didn't make contact, things like that. Isn't this game beautiful, though, for an MMO? Pretty dang good-looking game. Pretty dang good-looking game, let's say. Let's destroy this turkey over here. I can see this turkey's giving me the evil eye. So we can charge in and roast that turkey. Deal with that turkey. And bring him down. Now you can see that's put that ability on the bottom right on cooldown. But what I could do is I could swap over to my Frost Gauntlet. And what I could do now is I'm kind of a Frost Mage. So now I can put down an AoE frozen area. And I can do things like Glacial Spike. And then I could swap straight back to my two-hander, where I could do things like Execute and smash them and do all these kinds of things. And then I can swap back to my Frost Weapon if I want to. And do another Glacial Spike. And swap back to my two-hander. And that's how you basically decide your class. Now, as you can see, I leveled up my Ice Gauntlet there. So that's what a lot of the game, in the early game, is going to be about, is finding the different weapons and then using them, which will gain you experience with that weapon, which will then unlock more talents to use here. So now we have Wind Chill, should we want to take it, or we can get a Frost Totem in Ice Pylon to make it work. But let's say I wanted to be a healer. Okay, I could do that. Let's say I wanted to be a spear-wielding healer. Well, I could take something like the Life Staff, wherever it is. There it is. I could put my Life Staff on. I now have healing abilities to go along with that. Have I got a spear available? Oops, yeah, I have a spear here. Right, my gameplay has completely changed. Now I'm an off-healing spear user that changes my class entirely. I can even go ranged, and probably some of you want to see that. Is if I take my musket and put that in instead of the spear, I'm now a ranged DPS with the ability to heal, which is really nice. So you can mix and match all these things to find your desired play. of what you prefer. Some you're going to like, some you're not. You have a really long range as well. Boom! When you use the musket. The ranged attacks actually seem pretty much infinite for the most part that you want to do. Now, that's how you decide your class. So it's like Guild Wars 2, but not quite as involved. You don't have the actual specialized class on top of that to make that work. But that is the nature of what's going on. So, it's a PvP-focused game. For now, there's actually been a lot of talk with the initial feedback from the early alpha is when it comes to MMOs, huge amount of people are PvE-focused players. So, Amazon has been putting work in to create PvE-focused stuff. So, main story quests, lots of extra quests going alongside that in order to appeal to those guys. Let me tell you now, the PvE is not great. And it's good that Amazon is taking interest in that and they're trying to put that in. It's going to take some time, though. As always with a fresh, newly launched MMO, it takes time to really start fleshing out all these different areas. Remember, like, even Final Fantasy XIV, with the runaway success it's having now, was rebuilt from the ground up after it came out because people weren't happy with it. It takes time with a brand new MMO, but they are focused on trying to get more PvEs into the game. There are dungeons, but they're very light in terms of content. Endgame PvE, not really. What you will find in terms of PvE are things like these invasions here, these corrupted portals. I did a few of these earlier on, where you'll have very simple things you've seen in most games. A portal opens, some enemies come out, followed by an elite at the end, and you'll get a piece of gear at the end of it. Right? Very simple things. You can see it's got recommended levels and recommended amount of players. You'll go around and do those things. There's a couple of corrupted monoliths, things along those lines. And lots of landmarks to see, very reminiscent of The Witcher, or something like that, where you want to tag all the question marks. So, before we get too deep into the questing, let's talk about the gathering now we're out in the open world. Because if you are a crafter, you are in hog heaven with this game. You are absolutely in hog heaven. Let's put down a camp real quick. Uneven terrain. My terrain is uneven. There we go. Let's get ourselves a nice campfire. I want to apply all the resources to that. Make that work. So, we're going to build ourselves a little campfire. I have no flint, actually, which is a real shame. So, what we could do is we can actually look around so we can find some. But crafting is pretty much everything. Nearly every resource you see around the game is useful in some way. And you can level entirely from crafting and exploring. If you have zero interest in PvP, but you like a good old-fashioned, this is very, very classic MMO farming, you're going to be in absolute hog heaven. And I know several members of our community are like, I am more than happy to just be able to go out for a night, crack on some Netflix, crack on some YouTube, and just get farming a bunch of resources so that I can then come back in and level up from that. Because you can absolutely level up from that and get decent gear from doing it as well. And you can see we're going to knock down trees, we can collect the bushes. There's the flint we were after. I can't remember where my campfire is now. Is this it over here? Looks good. Let's make our... We got our wood. We got our flint. Move back to complete. Woohoo! We have a campfire. And we can do some crafting here. So what we can do is our camp actually does a number of things. It sets our respawn point. So travel is definitely one of the things that people are going to be a little on the fence about. It's all afoot. There are no mounts. There is a lot of traveling to do. There's always something to be doing, lots of gathering and stuff to be doing on the way, but if you're somebody who likes to go from objective to objective, you're definitely going to have a bit of a rough time with the amount of traveling that goes on. What you can do is you can set, let's say you travel to this town like I have, you can register at their inn, and that will give you a Hearthstone. You can see here I can recall to the inn. You can fast travel, and there are shrines dotted about the maps, kind of rarely, okay? That will allow you to fast travel. But you can see fast travel does have a cost associated with it, with this resource called Azoth. Now, Azoth comes from a number of places. Main story quest will give you plenty of Azoth. Later, farming will actually have a chance to give you Azoth as well. And also, you can get it from, like, invasions and things like that. But there is fast travel in the game. There's just no mounts, which I know is a big turn-off for a lot of people. Now, if you go into our crafting here, all these resources, this is a basic crafting. You want to do your more seasoned crafting in town at the specialist crafting areas. And, of course, these towns that are governed by players, they set them projects as well in order to upgrade the crafting facilities within their village. Okay, so that's a part of the game as well. But you can see here we can start crafting our fishing poles, which is really fun, by the way. Fishing is actually surprisingly fun in this game, and I very much enjoyed it. There is something about getting a very, very good fish But it has a real satisfaction to it. We're creating buff foods, health potions, things like that. You can see the list of things we haven't even unlocked yet that'll do all kinds of different things. So crafters, you're in for a really, really good time with messing around with this. A super good time. Let's head over to the village then and talk some pros and cons of what you'll find. Now, the story of the lore, the setting, super basic. All right, really quite incredibly basic. You're going to find that there's an island which houses treasure. It's protected by an evil storm, and the Great Mountain is spewing corruption on that island. Go there and earn your fame and fortune. That's kind of it. It's a very bare-bones story just to get everybody to this place. We are on an island which is somewhat segregated from the rest of the world, here to seek our glory for the most part. That's kind of the main purpose. But once you start to run out of main story quests, and there are a fair few of them, don't get me wrong, there is a fair few story quests to go along with it. The questing they've put into the game is extraordinarily basic. You could tell it was tacked on later to try and really appeal to the PvE crowd. It's like, okay, we kind of need to do something for the PvE crowd. How do we get that done? So what they've done is come up with these boards. And this will probably be something you can choose to do or not. There's a board over here. This is the town hall. Right, coming to this board, the project board. These are all the quests I can get right now. And I can pick them all up. Hunt 12 boars. We've all seen that before. Cook some food. Find 2 rivets in a field. Cook some food. Get 250 wood. Search for fasteners. You can see the variety here is pretty bad. Pretty bad. You can't pick them all up at once. Now, what you'll see is on the map, this kind of like fills out all your quests to go and do. Now, some people are going to be fine with this. Not everybody, but some people are going to be absolutely fine with like, okay, I go out, I've got all these markers, I've got all these pins, like an Assassin's Creed or a Ubisoft game, and I can go out and I can sweep the whole map and I can get that done, and I don't have to PvP or anything like that. And you come back and you turn them all in, and then it will just refresh these. You can actually see all missions will refresh in 5 minutes. But the refreshings are going to be the same quests again, essentially. Different area, but still you might be killed 12 sheep, which is kind of a meme in the community right now because of their low respawn. But it'll be the same thing again. Extremely repetitive. That's something that's needs to get worked on over time, in my opinion, if you want to hold the crowd. On top of that, though, we have quests that come from our faction. So you can see these players are all parts of different factions. And in PvP, this will matter once you're PvP flagged. If we come into here, this is the Covenant, which is I'm a part of. And Amano here will give me some quests. Open the faction board. So it's another board, same sort of screen. So you can see here, I have 3 PvE quests. So you can see on the side here, linked with PvE, linked with PvP. Now, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. So you can see I have a reputation with my Covenant, which will then unlock rewards for me, which are actually useful items, depending on whether you get better gear elsewhere. I will say there's a lot of complaints. I was reading through the subreddit last couple of days with item balance, and certainly, like, looking towards the end game, guys, what you're going to find is there are definitely certain weapon combinations and certain builds which are far more dominant than others right now. That's a balancing thing that they need to work on, and so I can't comment on whether or not they'll figure that out or not. It shouldn't bother you too much in the first month or so of the game. It's potentially something that's going to be a problem if you decide to stay in the game. A lot of the way I look at MMOs these days, certainly after everything we've been through with World of Warcraft, is I tend to look at them as like, is this good for a month if I'm like I would play for a single player game? So this is about £30. If I can get a good month out of it before I get into the minutiae of endgame where I start to get frustrated and stuff and I'm really looking to the devs to fix it, I could go away and play something else and I've got my money's worth. There's no subscription there. I got a good amount of time with it and I got to play with my friends. I'm fine with that. If you're looking for an MMO to call home, that's where you want to probably keep a closer eye on those things. If you're looking for a new day-to-day game that you can play, then you'll find these things much more frustrating than I'm looking to do right now. So, as you can see, lots of mods, and you get these ranks as you move up. So, like for me, it's Initiate into Templar, and the top level is the Adjudicator, where there are plenty of, like, cosmetic and higher items. You can see the word gear score here for our old WoW fans as well, to go along with that. Okay, so there's several PvE quests. These are going to earn you reputation and tokens for your faction. So you're going to earn closer to earning the next rank up, which would be Templar for me, and tokens, which are the currency to actually purchase these things, along with actual gold. So I could buy the full MOG sets and full armor sets to go along with my character. The PvP stuff is the same thing, yet you can see in many cases it's like double, if not more than double, the amount of rewards you get for doing the PvE stuff. Now, you might initially think that's because they really want you to go and do PvP. It's kind of the current focus of the game, depending on whether or not you like grinding. You could easily say this game is more focused on grinding and crafting. It will depend on your perspective on that. The problem, you definitely, I don't like this system. I'm going to make it blatantly obvious. I don't like this system. So I have a quest here called Preserve. Let's say Sanctify. Liberate this area, stand strong, walk into the light. Now, several of these quests will involve you going to an area, and the enemy factions also have these same quests. So that's forcing you guys to meet on the field of battle. If you die, even if you could... So I had 3 PvP quests there. Let's say I complete one, and I want to go and do the next 2 quests, right? That's what ordinarily you would do in an MMO. As it currently stands in the beta, though, let's say I complete quest number 1 and then go to quest location number 2 before returning to town to turn that quest in, and I die, I'll also lose credit for quest number 1. Not only that, it also removes the quests from your quest log. You have to respawn in the town, which you can misclick rather easily, which is what I did. And if you misclick and respawn far away from the town, it's a long walk to get back. You have to reacquire the quests, then go out and do even quest 1 again. If you die at all while out on a PvP mission because you are flagged for PvP, that's what happens. If you choose to take on PvP missions, your character will then be flagged for PvP, meaning people will can attack you, and you can attack them. Until that point, they can't. But if you decide to take up some PvP questing, that is what's going to happen. And if you die at any point, you will just be respawned and sent back without the quest complete. So it's kind of... It's extraordinarily punishing. Now, why have they done that? Likely because you can set your respawn point via the camp system I showed you earlier, which means you have the potential to die and kind of resurrect and keep fighting in the same area, and it'll turn into sort of just constant sludge pile of PvP, and they really would like to avoid that in all cases. So they've made it a little bit punishing. The response to that is also to make the PvP much more rewarding. Now, before we get to the crafting, I do have to point out something that I kind of foresee in the future as being a thing, especially at the launch, which could be a real downside depending on how you feel about it, is that obviously you get much more rewards for doing the PvP quests. Everybody's in the same zone for the most part because you kind of want to be in your zone. There are lots of zones to explore and go and do things in, but you gain bonuses for being here. You're stronger here. So there's a very sort of... You might have a house here, right? So you very much could feel like you want to defend, which is a good thing. You want to defend, you want to hold your territory, and we'll talk about how you take over territory in a minute. What I could see at the beginning is if you're on a server with several very organized groups, they will just dominate the PvP quest, which means they're getting twice as many rewards as you, and they will snowball up much faster than you can because you're going to be killed off. If you're trying to get that level of reward or you enjoy PvP, but you're more of a solo player, you might end up feeling like you just have zero chance. There is scaling in the game in PvP. However, levels don't seem to count. From what we can tell, we've been doing some testing today. It appears that levels don't count in PvP. You're about the same. However, gear and, more importantly, weapon masteries do. Which is a big deal. These things really, really mount up quickly if you specialize in certain weapons. So you can see, for me, I was messing around with all different weapons. I wanted to try out different things and see what they go. It'd be like a test out a fire mage, or a bow, a ranger, or use a rapier and on guard and all things like that. We had a group of 6 players who were also testing all different things and spending a lot of time not exactly leveling up like actual player levels. One level 42 guy just wrecked all of us. Like, no problem. Absolutely no problem. Which... It feels kind of like, oh, well, we should probably just not do the PvP quest, which would be the smart way. But you also feel like I want those rewards. What I can definitely foresee is on several servers, if there's an organized group, a large organized group of people who are going out and spamming those PvP quests, you're not really going to get a look in, and they're going to level much faster, and you're going to feel like a little pigeonholed. Hopefully at the launch of the game, though, there's a lot of a contention as players fight for footing on their own servers. and it probably won't be a big deal. Definitely something I'd be a little concerned about if you join the game later is some guy just camping the PvP areas. Because what we found is if you do complete these quests, so I did complete the PvP quest today, I came back and turned it in. Very similar to the other board, it just gave me another one in the same area to do the same thing. So you could just go backwards and forwards, constantly gaining lots and lots of rewards very, very quickly. As you can see, these also refresh very, very regularly. So a little worrying about that. I can't say how it's going to work out, but it's certainly a concern that I think you should be thinking about. On that though, then, let's talk about the wars. So the wars are currently the endgame, and they're certainly something that needs a bit more development. They are a Zerg fest, kind of like you would expect to see in a game like this. This game is so much better and fantastic at small-scale PvP. If you're in small groups where you can kind of coordinate things, think about using your abilities to go similarly with your friends. I'm going to drop a stun. Cool. I'm going to put a frost circle around him. I'm going to heal that guy. The small-scale PvP is really, really fun. Like, I very much enjoyed that. Looking at the wars and all the friends who've done the wars, not so much. Anybody who has played World of Warcraft, it will look like Wintergrasp, which was not a great battleground that they put into that game. Minus the spread out and multiple objectives, there is just to capture the base and break the wall down. Minus vehicle combat, minus all the things that caused players to spread out and give it some time. So you have a very basic 30-minute defense for the defenders and everybody rushing in and kind of spamming every ability on the sun. There's going to be like 20, it's 50 on 50 battle. 20 people spamming healing circles and melee just getting shredded like they're going into a meat grinder. All that kind of stuff. Just the Zerg ball going left and right, which I've seen that get the most criticism from not only our community, but the New World players, as just being altogether not that fun at all. I could really do with being managed in a better way and to have a lot more attention put on it if that is to be like the end game. You can see actually that you could sign up for these wars in the towns. You can see it's an upcoming invasion coming, it's an upcoming war coming, and there's very regular big events going on. There's a war happening over here right now, and you'll see that no matter what time of day you're playing, there's something going to happen on a larger scale in the game. Whether or not that gets another look, I would love to see. I would really love to see where that happens. On top of that, you've got a lot of the basics here before we go into any... There's quite a lot of customization, especially with the weapon stuff, which I was happy with. So you can see here, these are the tanneries. So we're looking for advanced crafting. This is where you're going to see this stuff go all the way up to kind of the more interesting stuff that you're going to get late game in order to craft your weapons. Even cooking is like a really... They've done a great job of making you care about your stuff. I actually wanted to make some canned fish rations because I have a quest for it, but I have no dill. So that gives you that promotion, that encouragement to go out and be like, oh, where's dill? So when I'm looking at the map, I'm like, where do I get dill from? And we can actually apply this resource locations here, which is broken down like in all different areas with colors as to what we found. Now this populates based on what you found. So going out and exploring is a real incentive. It is a true incentive. So if I look Hyssop, which makes healing potions. Okay, it's in the forest, which is this kind of area here. Okay, I want to go to the marshlands to find oil. If I want stone, I kind of want to go to the highlands. It's impassable. I can get flint from the beaches. I can get green wood from a variety of locations. I can get berries from the shrubland. And then I can go out and it's got a plan. It's like, oh, okay, I need to go farm some things so I know where I want to go. And I've seen it before. That kind of stuff is really cool because the crafting is immense in this game. And it's been one of the biggest positives for the guys who enjoy grinding in an MMO that I've seen. The feedback on the game has been exceptional. You also find these little bits of lore lying around. Let's have a little look at the character stuff here. So as you can see, a variety of slots that unlock with levels. These are like bag slots to increase your inventory carry weight. So you can see I currently have 200 on this lower level character. You can also change your transmog very easily by right-clicking it and click Change Skin. You can see we do have gem sockets and things like that available. And you can also dye the color of the armor. So really some basic but decent enough customization to go along with that. Some stuff I've locked are the basics. I can change my pants to kind of a basic look. Simple stuff. Only basics that I've found so far that go along with that. I can give myself a shirt, which I dyed yellow. This was originally a white shirt, so now I'm looking fabulous and doing all those kinds of cool things. You can change your faction, by the way. It's every 120 days. if you want to do that. You will find these bits of lore lying around, which you can read into if you want some more story. You can see we're uncovering the pages. You'll find bits of scraps of the story kind of dotted around. Around towns, around buildings, around landmarks, things along those lines, in order to make your life a little bit more fuller. There's not a great story to be had here, as I mentioned earlier, but you know, it's enough to get you on. This is a game that is what an MMO kind of should be, which is you choose your own path. What do I want to do? Well, if I want a PvP, I can go do that. If I want to go and just farm a bunch of stuff and craft a bunch of stuff, and level up that way, I can go do that too. If you're looking for like immersive variety PvE content, it's not here yet. It's absolutely not here yet whatsoever. So don't come in through looking at it through that lens. I think that would be a really bad decision to make. And you would be angry if I know when most people think MMO, they think Final Fantasy XIV. They think about World of Warcraft. They think about RuneScape and stuff like that. And this is much more similar to RuneScape than anything else. To go along with it. But all these are crafting vendors around the town. This is just one town of the many that are involved in this game. How do I feel about it? I think there's a good month's worth of content here. I'm very worried about after that, though. Once you hit level cap, the level 60 level cap, and you've started to take part in a couple of wars, which need a lot of work right now, I kind of think that's where you might drift off. But the journey to get there is going to be filled with fun and interest. I think so far, in my honest opinion, this is well worth the price tag to go along with it. The most fun I've had in it has been trying different weapon combinations. It's been my biggest thing, because you don't get a lot of experience from grinding mobs, like actual mob kills. That's what I've spent most of my time doing, rather than actually questing. I could see myself very easily, and if you're along with me going with this, going out, literally leveling weapons along the way. I'm going to be PvP flagged. Leveling weapons, just kind of working my way in a direction. So you can see there's all this stuff is here to be farmed. And this gets faster as you level up more of your tools and things like that along the way. Just kind of moving my way towards a direction. If I was with a group of people, I would be doing the PvP questing along the way. Well, you're just grabbing all these resources, because what happens is if you spend that time just gathering these resources, when you go back to town, I'm now flagged for PvP, so we might get monstered in a minute. I should probably equip better weapons than I have right now. Let's take the two-handed axe and the spear, which I've definitely been favoring the two-handed axe and the spear. I like them both very much. It's just gathering everything on the way, which is kind of what I've been doing. Is like just gathering stuff as I go. And then when you go back to town, you often have multiple quests to turn in. So if we see a chalky rabbit here, I'm actually surprised. I haven't shown you the best feature of this game yet, which is this. You can crawl, and you can actually sneak up on people. You can hide in the bushes. It is possible to do that. If you really want to, you can dive in the bushes and sneak up on people and do all that kind of stuff. It also has crouching. So you can actually take an actual, let's say if you're a hunter or something like that, you can take a prone position behind, say, a rock and actually PvP from back here, right? You can actually do that. You can take a nice soft position. You can pop over, attack people, dive on the floor, take another position. Most people have been taking this to just crawling. Everything you kill can be resource gathered. You're able to gain more stuff. Yeah, it's alright. I've had a lot of fun with this. I can see definitely the questing is going to be the biggest sore spot, I think, for a lot of people. Thankfully, there is enough variety for the more traditional MMO players to not have that be too much of an issue, I don't think. I know there's been people who've been played 40 hours just farming trees and herbs and things like that. That's what they've spent their vast majority of the time doing, and I totally get that. My appeal has actually just been leveling weapons, like not even considering my XP bar, just being like, oh, okay, what do I want out of Great Axe? Well, I would actually kind of like to try out Mauler stuff. I can respec right now and check it out, but I want more points, and I get that by killing stuff. So I've spent a lot of time just killing stuff while farming, just to get more levels on weapons and try those things out and make it work. Some people are going to see this game as hugely grindy. Some people are going to have an absolute blast with it. But that is kind of the nature of MMOs, especially fresh MMOs that are still finding their feet in what they want to do. So, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is New World for you. Coming out the 31st of August. Okay? 31st of August, available on Steam. Usual stuff. Alright, guys? So there you have it. That is my first impressions of New World. Pretty good. I'm actually thinking it's going to be a super exciting launch, and it'll be a good month and a half of gameplay for a lot of people to mess around in. How it's going to go after that, though, I don't know, man. You can never tell with MMOs, and as always, it's a first impressions, okay? Things are definitely going to change between the beta and the launch of the game, and we'll definitely be keeping our peepers open on that cash shop. But make sure you check out the stream this week. We're going to be checking out Chernobyl. We'll have a video up for you on that, and we're also going to be checking out the Forgotten City, which at the moment is getting absolutely rave reviews, so hope to see you there. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.